Good morning, everybody. Good evening, Matt. But thanks for joining us today for the Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce First Friday Public Affairs Call Update. I'm Steve Jappinga, Senior Vice President of Public Affairs at the Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce. These monthly calls are designed to keep our members informed, engaged on federal, state, regional policy issues shaping our region's business climate. Special thank you to ITC Holdings for their continued partnership in making these possible. As a reminder, today's call is being recorded. All information shared is as current as this morning, February 6, 2026. Just kind of a reminder and kind of going in and setting the table for today. But, this year for the Chamber, 125 years serving businesses, strengthening our communities, helping shape the future of our region. For more than a century, our region has grown and evolved by leaning into opportunity, embracing change, and continuing to innovate. This year is a pivotal year for advocacy, collaboration, positioning our region for long-term economic growth and competitiveness. And as we've done for the past 125 years, Lansing continues to innovate, adapt, position itself for what's to come. Each generation has faced moments where leaders were asked to look ahead, consider new ideas, make decisions that would shape the region for decades to come. And today's conversation fits squarely into that tradition. So when we think about the future of our economy here, digital infrastructure, advanced computing, clean energy solutions, and how cities remain competitive in this rapidly changing global landscape, this proposed deep green data center represents one of those moments where innovation and long-term thinking intersect. So excited today, and our focus is going to be on the proposed the deep green data center here in downtown Lansing, which is currently in front of Lansing City Council. We have Matt here from the deep green team. He's across the pond. So it's great to have Matt with us. And then also Josh Hovey from Bellwether Public Relations, who's been leading communications efforts for Deep Green. So thought Josh and Matt could walk through the presentation that they've been doing. And Matt, and I know we've said this countless times, like you guys have done, first off, thank you for picking Lansing, Michigan, for where you want to invest in this center. But also, you guys have done everything possible, I think, for the community questions that everyone's had. You guys have answered them. You guys have been available, probably more so than a lot of some other projects we've worked on in the past. So I just want to thank you for that. But with that, Josh, Matt, the screen's yours, and look forward to the update.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, I'm going to be controlling the screen and the slides, but Matt is our expert. He is the Chief Technology Officer and co-founder of Deep Green, and is definitely the expert on this subject. And so I'll drive the bus while he does the talking, and we'll give you a little tour of the presentation that will be presented to City Council on Monday night. Monday night, for those of you who don't know, is the public hearing for this project. The City Council will be hearing about the details of what Deep Green is proposing, and they will be deciding on a conditional rezoning of the property and the sale of a couple of city parking lots. That is what is on the table before City Council for the vote, and I'll turn it over to Matt to give you a preview of what will be presented Monday night.
Good morning, everyone. It is morning. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Um, I'm Matt Craggs. I'm the CTO at Deep Green and one of the co-founders. I lead on our design and a lot of our community work, as alongside site selection, and work with Luke, who I know a number of you came to watch speak while I hid in the corner last week. First of all, thank you for hosting me. It's great to discuss the project and how we believe it can contribute to Lansing's future growth. The Chamber's been incredibly helpful. We're really grateful for the support so far. I mean, ultimately, we're building this infrastructure with a view to the members of the Chamber benefiting, as businesses, as users of HPC, and as employers. and to help shape Lansing's economic future and show that it's open for business. Um, we know that there are concerns around the land use for the data center and it fitting in with the downtown environment. That's something that's been consistently raised, both from the city, um, the tourist board, and the people we spoke with. Though we've spoken to a number of residents who've described the current car park as an eyesore, they're still concerned and see this as part of the entrance to the city. We want to build an attractive building. This is an example of what we'll be looking to do that is focus on renewable and not renewable, rather sustainable building materials where possible, and the installation of greenery and an activated footway to encourage walkability in the area just to the south of the stadium district. And as part of the land sale from the city, we've committed to complying with the current downtown core noise limits, which are currently in place, which is a problem I identified. We'll be building a 24 megawatt data center capacity, so probably IT load of between 18 and 20 for those know what I'm talking about there. And we'll be using a closed loop water glycol cooling system, which will use around 20,000 gallons of glycol in that, and that will be replaced every 5 to 7 years and taken away and disposed of per environmental regulations. Our priority is to recycle that, and we're working with a number of the vendors on that. This will use a propylene glycol solution, which is a non-toxic glycol used in hospitals and food production. The focus of this site and the focus of Deep Green's business model is to use heat reuse to reduce the natural gas demand in the city. And that's a combination of two things this site. One, making heat from the data center available for BWL to use, and to uprate for use in the heat network. The second is the choice to use fuel cells as part of the heating solution, as part of the power solution. This has the benefit of being a very efficient generation solution that is suitable for retrofitting to hydrogen should the time come where that's available in the grid, but also being a very efficient overall conversion of energy into heat and electrical energy out. So it's providing high grade heat for use in the heat network alongside the heat available from the data center, as well as being compact and resilient. And we believe that this site will deliver long-term economic impact as well as 15 or more high-paying local jobs where the salaries will be over the median wage for Lansing. Just a quick bit on Deep Green. As one of the co-founders here, we're a data center developer from the UK. We focused and we were founded on the belief that data centers could be better. We've lived through a period in the UK, particularly in London, where data centers sucked up all of the power and utilities available in the west of London and effectively stopped the ability for anyone to build homes in West London, despite being in the middle of a housing crisis in the country. That obviously was not sustainable and made us think surely there's a way of doing things better. So we started with heating swimming pools. We've grown into district energy, and we're growing further into broader commercial uses of heat, and really with a focus that the data center's presence should be a net benefit to the community, not only during its construction, working with, in Lansing's case, union labour, but also in its operation and to enable other businesses in the area to work more profitably using what is effectively a waste product. We build compact, very hyper energy efficient data centers that minimize the use of water and maximize our benefit to the community alongside our community investment fund, which is, in this case, will be contributing towards pennies for power as a fuel poverty and energy poverty was highlighted as an issue affecting the people of Lansing. And we're backed by Octopus Energy Generation. Octopus Energy Generation is a set of renewable investment funds that are part of Octopus Energy Group. Octopus Energy Group also owns Octopus Energy, who are the largest retail energy company in the UK. And collectively, Octopus Energy Generation are one of the largest renewable energy investors in Europe. The mandate from them was to build sustainable data centers and enable the energy transition. So they invest across data centers, but also heat networks, EV charging, grid infrastructure, and renewable investment. And this here is a view for what we think the future of data centers are, to interface with not only the heat, the network, but also off-takers like aquaculture, breweries, swimming pools, agriculture, and industrial laundries, amongst many other uses. Um, sorry, Josh, thank you. Quick introduction. We started off with heating pools. We started life with a small GPU cluster, providing high performance compute for universities that was used to heat a pool in the southwest of the UK in Exmouth. That's our proof of concept. Off the back of that, we've grown with the investment into now working in district energy. An example on the right are two projects that we're doing in the UK. The bottom one is just at the point of coming out of our zoning process in the UK, called planning. And this is a energy centre in the city of Bradford. It's about a third of the size of the one proposed in Lancing, directly interfacing with the district energy network being built to serve the people of Bradford. And off the back of that presence, this site will be saving the people of Bradford around 1.5 million a year on their energy costs compared to gas alternatives. This, from an aesthetics perspective, has been designed to reflect the design language of the area. I know that is not necessarily what people want in terms of reflecting the current car park, but we're looking at something that is really additive to the wider area of downtown, and looking particularly along Michigan Avenue and the Stadium District to reflect the architecture that's been developed there and expand on that from a neighborhood improvement perspective. We've heard the feedback on data centers. Like you'd be blind, you'd be deaf not to. It's the concerns are valid, and because they're being seen elsewhere. You're seeing an increase in local utility rates to pay for the power infrastructure that needs to be inputted. You're seeing an overwhelming consumption of water, concerns about fire risk, depleting farmland, and its general appearance, and the kind of the old adage of claiming to generate an enormous number of jobs, when in fact most of those jobs in life are not in the area of the data center. We believe we've got good answers to all of these. We'll be paying for all of the energy infrastructure that we're using and working with BWL to ensure that, as well as paying for all of the consumables. We're using this closed loop system I touched on earlier to minimize the consumption of water, with a target of having it less than the Wendy's across the road. And that is total usage. And where possible, outside of drinking water for the people working in the facility, look to use grey water. Obviously focusing in an area of downtown that's been zoned for redevelopment and sale by the city for the last couple of years, and looking to build something that's additive to that community, as well as working closely with the fire marshals and regulations. And we sort of, to continue from that, we believe we're a different type of generator, right? We're much smaller, much more lean in our energy and utility consumptions. And we're focusing on sizing our data center to where we can most benefit the community we're working in. Now, that 5 to 20 megawatt range, which is what we're building here, is sized because if we're building a gigawatt, you can't possibly use a gigawatt's worth of heat in the vicinity of the data center. So this focus is let's take a different approach. Let's build multiple sites in multiple cities where the heat is needed and bring that value to you. Here's a great example of the land use. So we'll be using 2.5 acres of this plot, about half an acre of which will contain some generation equipment, and the rest will contain the data center and the cooling equipment. So that's up to 200 times smaller than you'd see in a hyperscale process. So much lower impact on the community and much lower and much better land use. And we're not taking up farmland; we're taking up unused car parking space. Water use, we've compared this to another hyperscale proposed in Michigan, where they expect to use 250 million gallons a year. We're expecting to use less than 500,000. That's equivalent to 10 residential homes or a small business. And we're a co-location. We're not targeting working with OpenAI or any of the large hyperscalers. We're targeting working with local high-tech businesses that have a need for high performance compute to improve their day-to-day operations. This is not about a nebulous use case on the uptake of generative AI. This is about use cases like medicine development, engineering, a use case which I'm at my wife's vet clinic where they extensively use machine learning and HPC to do that. And so we're looking to build infrastructure that enables the business in the area rather than is focused more broadly. We are not suitable for generative AI, and we've deliberately chosen not to build a facility suitable for military or law enforcement approaches. I know that was a concern raised by a number of citizens we spoke to in the last couple of weeks. That is a deliberate move by us to target a specific use case. And we believe that doing this here will put Lansing on the map. And that's great timing, Josh, there. But we believe it will put Lansing on the map. This is, to our knowledge, will be the first heat reuse data center in the co-location data center in the US, and a model that we're wanting to expand of how we can invest in our tech infrastructure to grow the capabilities within the United States at the same time as investing in the communities that they serve. Why here is a good question. We've been asked a lot. First of all, we looked at a site closer to the network downtown, the Cooley Law Building. It was flagged that that wasn't suitable. It was not going to help the other businesses in the area who wanted more shops and more restaurants to drive more people down to downtown Lansing. This area was flagged by the city and by BWL as a great opportunity, being next to the water plant and the solar farm, and in an area with the majority industrial use with the auto centers nearby, and so suitable for rezoning, as well as being a piece of land that had been identified by the city for sale since 2023. Sound and water. These have been some of the biggest concerns raised by the community, I think, off the back of both experience elsewhere around the country, but also off the back of experience with other facilities and not data centers in Lansing. Sound being the number one. So two things. One, we're sticking with downtown core. That is 55 decibels, all the atmospheric noise. We've got to be below that, whichever is higher. And the two main drivers of that of noise above that we see are in generators and are in the heat rejection that is used if BWL don't need to take that heat. On the generator size, they're tested every couple of weeks or every month, and they run for half an hour to an hour to do that. We do that during the day to minimize disruption, and during the week on that moment. And those generators have noise attenuation fitted to the air intake and the flues to bring that decibel level down. Then, if necessary to comply with the requirements, are housed in an acoustic enclosure. If that's not sufficient, what we then do is we enclose those generators in a box, soundproof box, to take that down further. Water. So our closed loop system will mean no drinking water from BWL will be used in the data center cooling system, and there will be nothing discharged into the local environment. The Glycol-Mex used will be replaced every 5 to 15 years and processed per environmental standards. It's the equivalent to the Wendy's across the road. Power, we'll be using 8 megawatts of grid supply and the 16 megawatts of on-site fuel cell installations that we'll be paying for up front. That will reduce the impact on the grid and the upgrades required to serve future connections. It'll be quiet, using a chemical reaction on the fuel cells rather than combustion, and it'll be significantly cleaner with fuel cells reducing NOx and SOx emissions by up to 95%. BWL won't pay for any of the capital costs. That will be borne by us, and we'll be paying for everything we consume to comply with BWL's regulations that no new connection should add or affect the bills of anyone already connected to the network. And the 8 megawatts that we're buying off the grid comes from an existing surplus within the grid of generation. We're not the only data center in Lansing. You'd think from the publicity that there's actually 5, including some very close by, and one of about half the size at Michigan State. These data centers use chillers and backup generators, just like we're talking about, and have been operating for years within the city with no problems. And just to touch on the community benefits, I've talked a lot about the free heat and the benefits that have. We focused on the things that we can absolutely guarantee and what we can guarantee in terms of benefits to the city, and what we know are the benefits the city will receive from the annual property tax and from the revenues BWL pay. So we'll be paying the margins to satisfy BWL's commitment to the city, not only on the power consumed from the grid, but also on all the power consumed from the fuel cells. That will come to around $1 million a year of extra revenue to the city paid by BWL to the city from Deep Green's purchasing. With then an estimated $873,000 of property tax revenue. In addition to that, we'll be contributing our community fund, which is $120,000 a year, to pennies for power to help customers in need. That is something that is a pot of money that is for the people of Lansing. This has been identified at the moment as the best solution and the most pressing need by the city. That is not something that is always has to be there. If the needs of Lansing change, that pot is there to be spent on other things. In other sites, we spend that on community sporting engagement, on rewilding programs. It's entirely something that we look to work with the people of Lansing to drive that. There'll be over 50 jobs during the construction and over 15 during the operation. And during construction, we're committed to using union labor throughout the process. And we'll be engaging long-term skilled employment from electrical technicians, engineers, pipe fitters, and administrators working and paying taxes in Lansing. And at this stage in the design, it's very hard to give a concrete, this is exactly what's going in, because we haven't got that far through the engineering, but we can talk about principles that we will stick to and things we will definitely be doing. We will be using a closed loop cooling system to minimize water consumption. There will be zero water discharge into the river from the data center's cooling loop. We will have consultation with the planning department and building control throughout the development and provide opportunity for them to feedback on the proposed design and aesthetics. We will authorize local and regional compute, or prioritize, local and regional compute in our sales efforts. And we will make all heat generated and recaptured by the system available to BWL for their use. We will also use union labor and use local Lansing contractors wherever possible. We will not cause increased utility rates for Lansing residents and businesses. We will pay our way in full for all power infrastructure and pay market rate for the power we consume. We will not build another data center in Lansing or expand the current project past the existing plot limits, and we will not seek any discounts or incentives from the local or city taxes or levies. This is our website. If you've got any questions, if you'd like to support the project, it would be fantastic if you could. We have a council meeting on the 9th, and I'm sure Josh can give you some more information on how you can get in contact with the councillors if you want to support the project. Thank you everyone for your time.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, I think just to emphasize, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and Deep Green has worked really hard to differentiate itself from the other data centers that have been doing things in the wrong way across the country. And so if you agree that this is a net positive project for Lansing, it would be much appreciated that council hears from you and understands that this is something that is different and is going to be a benefit to the community rather than taking away. So yeah, that's just our plea to the business community right now. I will say in my 20 years or so of working on economic development projects in the city, it's unheard of to see a project this size not seek a dime of taxpayer incentives. No grants, no environmental cleanup, tax abatements, no nothing. And so this really is a net positive to Lansing. There's very few drawbacks that can be mentioned, but council needs to hear that reinforced. So if you can take a moment to either quickly message council using a template that's been provided, or if you're able to speak on Monday night at city council yourself and lend your perspective, that will go a long way. So I'll turn it over to Steve.
Yeah, thank you, Josh, and thank you, Matt. I did put that for those that may be on, and we just sent out to the full membership just a sign-on opportunity that we've been putting out. But there's a link in the chat box as well. But clearly, um, for the Lansing Regional Chamber, this is a very important project. Just last year, and I know we talked a lot about this, and when we put out our State of the Region report, and we're benchmarking ourselves against other similar size cities, a little bigger, maybe a little smaller, but one of the areas that we've seen is, we have a smaller private sector. And I think we're seeing, um, throughout not just the city of Lansing, I mean, throughout the region, but the incredible need from a lot of these municipalities that they're being asked to continue to pay for. They're not going back to residents for increasing millages and property taxes. This is the type of project that is incredibly important for our region, obviously for the city of Lansing, but we have to continue to be a welcoming place for private investment. And that's why we've been very supportive of this. Clearly, I mentioned this earlier, the Deep Green leadership team, this is going back to last fall in October. They have answered all questions from the community. They've gone beyond what um, just what we've seen on just other projects that we've dealt with, and just have appreciated their time and investment here in Lansing. And Matt, I know it's funny when and I might I have like two questions. I shouldn't just sit here and uh, filibuster, but it's interesting when people say why Lansing. It's like, well, why not? And I get that people are asking you, but we're the capital of the state of Michigan, 10 million people here. Michigan State University down the road. This is a great place to do business, to live. And that's why, I'm just so excited you guys are here. We're excited you're here, and why it's so important. But, that city council, we're talking to as many of those folks as possible, the mayor. Um, but, it's snowing right now. I hope the plows are out, but the city services are just, they're tight. These types of things, as Matt mentioned, that benefit to the city, that's going to help with a lot of those services, fire, police, all that type of stuff. So with that, Matt, there was hey, Mr. Martin, I did have one. There's like two questions here, real quick. So if this is the first time, I think you might have touched base on this during your presentation, but this is the first time you guys getting into the U.S. market.
Mhm.
Um, have you guys been any other parts of the world, and how's that going? Or is it strictly the
So
UK?
just the UK at the moment. We US was next. I think for us, it's always been a great market for engineering innovation, and is definitely the largest market in data center world. So your early adopters there, and it's something if we want to prove this model. In terms of this approach, it's not us, but it's the de facto way of deploying data centers across Northern Europe from Scandinavia into Germany now, where if you want to use up infrastructure and use infrastructure for your own benefit, you need to give that back. If There's a great example of one of Meta's data centers in Copenhagen, and is connecting up, as well as one in Finland, where they're heating over 10,000 homes off the heat generated from the data center. So this is something that has been the de facto way of building in in Scandinavia for the last 10 years, and is now something that is rolling out across the world. We believe it's the only way you should be building this sort of infrastructure. Um,
Thanks, Matt.
I'm,
And then
uh,
the other, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm afraid I've got another meeting I'm going to have
Yep.
to get to, but I can take one or two more
Yeah,
questions.
the other question, what happens if the council does not agree to sell this property? Are there other possible locations within the that are not owned by the city within the city limits?
we're focused on this because we're focused on working with BWL and
Yeah,
and the benefits there. I think if that were to happen, we'd need to go back to the drawing board with BWL and look if we're not averse to working with private landlords, but and private property owners, but it would have to be in the guise of working on the heat recovery. That's a mandate for our investments. We can't build anywhere where we can't do that.
yeah. And then the way I'd answer that too, from the chamber's point of view, is our offices are literally a little north of that underused. I mean, I'm talking underused city parking lot. I drive by it every single day. No one's parking there. So you just have an empty spot. The city actually owns several different parking lots. And back in 2012, I believe, there was the Lansing Financial Health Team had recommended back in 2012 to sell all city parking lots. So, that's where I don't know why I would have a hard time seeing this council like why would they wouldn't sell this city parking lot. It's a great fit. I'm not an urban planner, but when you have that map up and it's a perfect fit where it would go. Next to the Board of Water and Light, the water, the power, the water station there, the solar farms. Um, but again, we talk about parking lots in this city all the time. I don't want to get into state workers, but there are so many concrete, it's a concrete jungle down here. And this is a perfect example of reactivating the site, filling that in, and the benefit to the city, not only in the sale, but those tax revenues moving forward. But Matt probably did a much better job of answering that question. But yeah, I don't know why they would not sell. But that's why it's important, as Josh has indicated, why we have been engaged on this. We have great relationships with several of the council members. Um, but it takes all of us, business and labor, to make sure that we are continuing to encourage this city council to not only vote on the sale, but the rezoning aspect as well. So with that,
Um,
Matt, thank you for your time. Josh, thank you. Um, we hope hope you found a great value of this. A lot more to come this month in February, but council meeting on February 9th, coming up here this Monday, but also on the February 23rd for the vote. So we will be sending out more information on this, but thank you for tuning in this morning, and we hope you have a great first Friday of the month of February. Have a great rest of your day.